Secretly recorded from deep inside the bowels of a decommissioned missile silo, we bring you the man, one single man who wants to bring light to the darkness and dark to the lightness. Although he's not always right, he is always certain. So now, with security protocols in place, the protesters have been forced back behind the barricades and the blast doors are now sealed. Without further delay, let me introduce you to the host of Hutcast, Mr. Tim Hutner.
Thank you, Sergeant at Arms. You can now take your post.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual and participants. These views and opinions expressed do not represent those of the host or the show. The opinions in this broadcast are not to replace your legal, medical, or spiritual professionals.
Welcome to Hutcast. Today is the 11th of May. And in the studio today, Brad Kohler. Brad Kohler is running for governor of Minnesota. We all know how bad we need a governor. And he's in studio today. Brad, you there?
Yes, Tim, I'm here. Thanks for inviting me.
And we're going to get through pre-roll here and jump into the nuts and bolts of this so we can have a conversation with Brad and see his trajectory on life. So Hutcast will be back in just a moment. Stand by. We got to take a break.
Is your patriotism showing? Freedom Flag and Pole has everything you need to display your American pride. Visit freedomflagandpole.com today to browse durable, high-quality flags to sturdy, easy-to-install flagpoles. Freedom Flag and Pole makes it simple to honor the red, white, and blue. Show your support for our nation, your community, or even your favorite holiday. Freedom Flag and Pole offers a wide variety of flags and sizes to fit any need. Visit them online at freedomflagandpole.com. That's freedomflagandpole.com to get your flag flying high.
Welcome back to Hutcast. Brad Kohler. State of Minnesota needs you desperately to unseat the guy who's there now. Are you there?
Yes, Tim. How are you, sir?
I thank you for taking your time to come on in. I want my listeners, and your listeners, going to be pretty soon, to just kick back and say, who is Brad? What does Brad have to bring to the table? There's a lot of questions. And first of all, let's get to know you first. You broke into the political scene just, 5 years ago, you said, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I did.
And before that, let's get a synopsis on what you did up to this point.
Well, I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I was a wrestling state champion there in Ohio. And went on to wrestling, played football in college. Ended up moving here to Minnesota and starting my MMA career. And ended up in the UFC a couple times, get to travel the world, fight in many shows all over the world, all the major productions I was in. I had won 3 world titles in MMA. I won also 3 titles in jiu-jitsu and grappling. And then eventually got into the business world. Mm-hmm. I invented several boxing products and fitness products that I still sell a few all over the world.
Nice.
And I've been in the restaurant business for over 45 years, in and out with the fitness. And now I have my own Italian catering that I do part-time while I'm campaigning full-time now. I left my full-time job.
Yeah.
I was running 4 restaurants, 4 multi-million-dollar restaurants up until December. And I decided that this is what I want to do. And I'm the guy that can fix Minnesota, and I believe that. And I have a very good team behind me that I've built over the past 5 years. And we are not tiptoeing in the sand no more. We're diving in, and we're committing to this. And it's a big sacrifice for me and my family, but we feel that we have a very strong campaign. We have a strong message, and somebody has got to step up and fight for Minnesota and unite Minnesota again.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Now, what's your thought on District 5? Because Ilhan, her district is pretty much a blue gig. And her followers are such that if you don't win at least part or most of 5, or even half of 5, you don't have a fighting chance in this state.
Well, I believe that's once I'm elected, that's going to go to a special election because she'll be arrested and deported. It's on the list. I'm very strong about that. She flat out has been talking about how white men are the ones who destroyed America, and she's she's anti-American. She's committed many crimes, let alone fraud. She is hiding illegal immigrants. We need to stop this and hold people to a higher standard if they're going to be elected officials. She was elected to represent the people of America and the state of Minnesota, not another country.
Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, how are you going to get that vote? What are you telling your listeners? What are we telling my listeners that are on the fence? Because there's middle of the road on both sides, and there's no fixed value if you're common sense. There's just common sense.
Well, we have two broken parties, and although I am running under the Republican banner, and I've been a Republican candidate now for the past 4 years, and ran in 3 elections, and my goal when I got into it was not to ask for money or donations, was to learn what was going on in the political world and how to basically win, because Republicans don't have a lot of backing here. And, the GOP is broke. Matter of fact, they're in debt right now, and they're in disarray. So how do I win knowing I have conservative values, and I'm certainly not Democrat? And this woke idealism is just not for me. So am I more of an independent conservative than I am Republican? I'm only that way because the party is in disarray. I cannot follow the party that is not organized, and yet I am Republican. I'm a big Trump fan, and I believe in what he's doing, but I'm focusing on Minnesota and how to fix Minnesota, and that's the plan that I'm walking into office with.
Oh, absolutely. And that sounds like good words of wisdom. But
sure.
Let's say I'm still on that fence. You haven't convinced me yet, Brad.
Sure. There are certain issues that really want that I really want to get across to people that, I see the problems. I'm one of you. I'm not one of these rich guys that's getting in with all kinds of money backing. I'm just a regular guy, self-employed, inventor, author. I'm a former pro athlete, but that's not like, I made millions of dollars. It just, it's nice to be at that level of playing or competing, which I thought was a great accomplishment. But at this rate in Minnesota, what we need to do is very common sense. This is very simple to do. We need lower taxes. And how am I going to lower taxes? Well, businesses in Minnesota are not respected nor appreciated. And we need to have like how Walz put up these he put up these red flares for certain things that, of course, were negative to the population and also the economy. I want to do the opposite. I'm putting up red flares to build our economy and bring business people back to Minnesota. So we're going to offer no business taxes.
Whoa.
No business taxes, and we can do it.
You're talking like a TIF in or something?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about TIF districts and set up all that? Or no taxes, period?
No taxes, period.
Wow.
Okay, so we have a lot of regulations that we can do without as well. One thing I also want to do without is employment taxes. Again, our employers are beaten up every day by all this paperwork, and it's very hard to employ people these days, or let alone keep them, because the employers, the businesses are getting beat up by the state.
Absolutely.
So, there's a lot of things I see in the future of Minnesota, and these aren't things that are unforeseeable. We can do these things. You look at our $70 billion budget, that 20% of that is overspending.
Right.
So we lower that by 20%. We get rid of some of the clowns that are in there that do nothing but take up these token positions they're not even qualified to do. We bring in the right people. I could do with half the amount of people. And then we stop some of these of course, the fraud is ridiculous. So we cut out the overspending. We tighten up the belt in government spending. We of course stop the fraud. Make this very transparent office. Make it very honest, and say this is what we're going to be doing. We'd be very open with the people of Minnesota. And I like what Trump is doing, but he was very aggressive with this. He scared people on these tariffs. He really didn't come to say, yep, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is why we're going to do it. Here's our benchmarks. And here's what the plan is. And by this date, this is what we should be at. And I'm not really sure how he would have done that, but this is what I would have done. I would have said, hey, folks, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut back on real estate taxes. And how we're going to offset that is by we're going to have toll roads for people coming into the state. Now, right now, of course, we have a lot of illegals coming here for free, taking up taxpayer money, and of course, using the roads as well. This is also a safe thing to help with like drug trafficking and human trafficking. So places where we can set up, nets and stings where we have these toll roads coming into the state, paying for our roads, and offsetting some of the road tax or the road taxes that we need to do. So we want to lower the property taxes to the burden that we have right now. Eventually, we're going to be renting from our own government, which is not a good thing, right? So I have a lot of things that I want to do as far as taxes go. I have another revenue stream that I want to bring into, a couple actually that I want to bring into Minnesota to bring in more money. Of course, open the iron range. We want to drill, baby, drill. We want to get those minerals. We want to take those back over and use as a source of revenue here in Minnesota and employ more people. I want to expand St. Cloud Airport, build another airport in Albert Lea, and bring another 250,000 jobs to Minnesota in the next 5 years after I'm in office. These are things that are very feasible. Looking at the $5 billion funding we'll have to get from the federal, I don't think that's going to be a problem. These are things that I think that are very feasible things we can do in Minnesota to grow Minnesota. We put up a red flare to say no business taxes in Minnesota. We're going to get businesses coming in here to Minnesota and making it a destination again, not seeing our people leave because they're frustrated or can't afford to be here no more. The goal is to make Minnesota affordable again.
Yeah, there's a lot of flags. And really, if you think about it, let's say this is day one, you win this election.
Yes.
Trump went he went all out on his pen.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about that.
I'm going to have two.
You have two pens?
No kidding.
And when you say you're going to set up a sting, you're going to do these things. How? Because, those are pretty strong words for the guys who are on the fence or the females or whoever it is. I mean,
sure.
whatever gender you pick these days, which there are only two, by the way. And
you are correct.
You're scaring them. You're saying, hey, look, stings, what? Government overreach. What are you saying to these guys?
Well, we want to protect the women's rights, of course. And that in all cases there. And whether it's the abortion or especially in women's sports, I'm all for Title IX. These young women today that are in sports, they get into their sports to compete at people of their own level and their own standards. And when men are entering that should be illegal. And this state is violating that law, or not law, but what Trump had initiated. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but that day one, no men in women's sports.
Absolutely. Now, we're geographically located close to each other.
Yes.
And I won't say the state because this is an underground bunker, and we don't want nobody to know location, okay? But recently in our community...
Alaska.
Recently in our own community, we've had a scuttle on the pages.
Yes.
Where a biological male competes in a female's venue.
Yes.
Pretty much venue.
And has been.
Right. And
in the locker room.
And at
sleepovers.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So they call this male, mm-hmm. whatever they call him, and what they're not getting is he's a child. They call him this 17-year-old boy a child. And of course on the page is, well, he's just a child. I get that. You don't want bullying on any page.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to stop
that? We have to make it law. We have to, this has got to be something that is going to be enforced. And I'm sorry, but the parents are just as guilty. Uh-huh. And this is a mental issue that should be addressed. This is one of those issues that, deceit is a lie.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, you've lied to your community. You've lied to your team. You've lied to other teams, and you've played unfairly. This is not right for the other women in the other teams that have to play against you.
Yes. Absolutely. But this is, again, a community where we're all of, 24,000 people. And we're the number 11th in the state as far as size of our city. How do we just say we're done with this without the left totally blowing something up or taking sniper shots at you?
Well, right now it's not enforced. And because it's not enforced, there's no accountability. So it's got to come from the top down and from the bottom to the top. It's got to be, look, our education system, of course, is another topic, but this is part of the problem. And, when this whole thing started, we didn't get a chance to adjust like we did in our day back in when the gays were growing. And right, we don't have a problem with that. They have blended with society.
Yep,
but
not forced you to do their agenda. Right.
We were force-fed this.
Yes.
And that's where I have the problem with this. Like, hey, you got to give me some adjustment time here, not just ram it down our throats in just a few years. I'm all for a co-ed sport if that's what they want to do. Not something like this is just not fair. Can you see me coming out, even at my age of 60 years old, competing in the women's sports? Even at 60, throwing a wig on and a bathing, well, it'd be pretty nasty, I bet. But I mean, even just in jiu-jitsu or fighting, it just wouldn't be fair just because all of a sudden, maybe I have brain damage and took too many hits to the head, okay? Or Dame damage, I should say. And now all of a sudden I feel that I'm, feeling a little feminine here and want to compete in the women's division just because what have you. But, I'm sorry, that's just I don't know how to say this without just saying it's just not right. It's not normal and it's not fair. And so when we started Title IX in the 80s, I was all for it. I was glad to see my friends in high school getting their own sport, even though we lost a couple male sports. But, back then it was, not as big as it is now. And so when they fought so hard to get Title IX, it's like this is a slap in their face. And so our state, our current government and leadership are not protecting the women of this state.
And where are all the feminists now? Why aren't they jumping up down and saying, whoa, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot's going on here, and why are you not taking care of us?
If you really are afraid for your body and you want the rights for a woman's body, imagine if, let's say in a sport like
MMA,
I remember when a guy did transfer over to the women's sport because he thought he was a woman, and he busted out 2 women's eye sockets in professional fights. And that didn't last very long because, unfortunately for him, in that sport, it is a contact sport. So you get the wrong dudes that are offended by that. Or maybe you get some dude in the cage fighting your girlfriend. Okay. Okay.
Right.
My girlfriend, let's just say hypothetically, vaguely speaking here, I'll spitballing. Let's say, I'm a world champion and, my girlfriend's a fighter. She's in there and all of a sudden, this person gets in there and presents themselves as a female. We all think that because the promoter probably didn't ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in there and he busts my girlfriend's eye socket or breaks her nose or what have you, okay?
Life-altering things, yes.
Life-altering things. Okay, you got a problem with me now. And I'm a man.
Yeah, but she jumped in the ring.
None of she didn't know. Let's say it was deception.
Well, then I guess I'll be looking at an event coordinator at that time.
Well, it's a deception.
Yeah.
And how is it all coming out now rather than just be honest and say, hey, let's say, you got, Saint Alibaba over here is a school. Hey, by the way, we're playing you guys today. We have a trans person on the team. Just want to make sure that you understand that. Are you okay with that? No, it's not fair. We will not play. They should forfeit all their games.
You would think.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I can see that the team that has the player fighting for the, but they're just as guilty now if they knew. And that's the problem.
Absolutely.
That's
right.
the problem. Yeah.
Did you ever follow the one? What was that? She was a fencer. I think it was one of the Ivy League schools, and they had a whatever thing come up to the transgender thing, and at that point, she took a knee. They get up to the line, they do their thing. She gets on a knee and says, "Nope, didn't do this," and they DQ'd her for not fighting.
I remember that.
It was like within 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I think she was smart.
You're right.
I think she knew better than to, she was protecting herself for herself.
She protected her principles and her freedoms.
Yeah.
For the same very reason that you just described this last 5 minutes.
Yeah. And, I'm not against anybody. I'm not for, a certain this or that. I believe if you're happy, I'm happy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you affect other people and you do something to hurt other people, that's where it draws the line. And this is a potential threat for injury that we would not be recover from. So let's just say something did happen.
There's no backs.
There is no give backs.
Yep.
This is it.
And it's forever.
It's forever.
All because someone wanted you to believe their idealism of becoming another sex which is okay, but because, like you said, they lied about it.
Well, we have the Gen Zs and the millennials right now that have been through a lot of crazy stuff. I mean,
yes.
Things going on through COVID and whatever, and they're still trying to establish their identities, which I believe in. I remember my daughter went through this goth stage, and I'm like, oh my God, she's a vampire, right? I'm like, oh, she's a vampire. I leave my cross on the bedroom door.
Yeah.
So it's like, they go through these stages, but it's okay. I went through them too. We all did. Our identity stages in life. And I believe that, but again, when I wanted to be a rock and roller and wear Kiss shoes and hair, I wasn't going to hurt anybody. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, you're kind of following, who you think you want to be like. You look at idols and people that you want to be like and you look up to.
But you did it to yourself.
Right. I mean, I couldn't sing, I couldn't play, but I just like, oh man, Kiss. I like, Gene Simmons and, it's like, wow, those guys are cool. They put themselves out there and wear this makeup and all this stuff. It's like going, wow, they really, did it. They made it, and I saw the story and how they did it. I mean, so those are the things that I understand. Like when I, was trying to find myself and then, got into wrestling and then fighting, I was in a sport that was illegal in 37 states. And, I was like, oh my gosh, we got to be careful where we compete at or we're going to get in trouble. And now look at it. It's the biggest stage in the world, I think that people, one day maybe this might be something that will be accepted. It's just not now. And again, if we're going to have crossover like that and do a co-ed sport, I'm all for that. Let's make the rules up. Let's make it fair. Let's make sure everybody knows and we're honest and transparent about it. But this deceit, we just can't go on like that.
Well, we are 21 minutes into this first section. Let's do this. I got to take a break, tell everybody how the show gets paid for, and then we'll come back and let's talk about the office. The office as a whole, how you would interact with communities, i.e. South Murderapolis, the whole deal. You good with that?
I am.
You got time?
I do.
Okay. All right. So stand by, Hutcast. We got to take a break, listen to our sponsors. And again, we always ask that you patronize our sponsors no matter where you are in the world. They can always do things by mail. They can do things by shipping. So, heck yeah, reach out. Stand by, Hutcast. We'll be right back.
This grilling season, take your taste buds to the next level. The sauce that'll change your barbecue forever. O. Eddie's Whiskey Bourbon Sauce is going to be at the Anoka County Fair. O. Eddie's Whiskey Bourbon Sauce is all about that split second when the tender meat and delectable sauce touches your taste buds. Don't believe me? Chef Richard Cooper is bringing O. Eddie's Whiskey Bourbon Sauce to the Anoka County Fair so you can taste it and become a believer yourself. O. Eddie's Whiskey Bourbon Sauce, the sauce that's worth the wait.
Welcome back to Hutcast. Brad is in our studio today, and he's been enlightening us with his great concept plans. And my hat's off to you. This is not an easy thing, and if anybody's ever run for office in any capacity, in any city, in any event, in anything, you'll understand how hard it is. And the effort in which Brad has put into this is outstanding. So when I left you before the break, I was going to talk to you about the office of how to get along with South Minneapolis, how to make sure that everything is distributed more evenly. I mean,
Yes.
it's such a complex question, and I know you can't quantify this in a short period of time, but do what you can. Because I'm in South Minneapolis. It's a whole different venue than, so let's say Brooklyn Center, let's say Osseo, anything.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's expanding out to the suburbs here.
Yeah,
It's kind of what do we call it, spilling over. And when I got involved with this, it was during COVID and the George Floyd situation. I started again diving into politics. So I've been at this now since 2020, and I've been drawn into it because of my business being shut down, of course, not once but twice, and trying to save my business through this whole ordeal of being shut down. We all remember COVID. We don't want to forget it because that's one of the things that was we're ground zero. This city is ground zero for a lot of destroyed cities. And our governor allowed that to happen. He did not protect and serve. We all know that. He allowed the city to burn. He allowed the police officers had to flee for their life to, run from people trying to attack them.
Yes.
And so it hasn't been fixed since. They haven't done anything. So this is part of some, mind-blowing scheme to, again, make people poor. We had a beautiful city. We had law and order, and we could have had law and order if they acted.
Right.
Okay, if they acted. But, doing nothing is also an action. It's just a negative one. And so it's just, Minneapolis is tough down there. It's really going to be a situation where we got to go in and really police it hard, fix Minneapolis. But it's not just Minneapolis. It's St. Cloud. It's Duluth. It's Rochester.
Yep.
So we need to have a war on drugs and also this human trafficking, things like that are going on right now because we don't have the police force the police force is even afraid to step up sometimes.
Who wants to be a cop these days?
Right. And that's a sad thing because I remember growing up just admiring police officers,
Yep.
But I'm for the police. I'm supportive of them. I think they have a hard job and they don't need anybody, especially politicians, get in the way of law and order. And we need to separate that. We need to support our police officers, create a standard once again that, and I'm not trying to steal Tad Jude's line here of make crime illegal again, but we need to. And people need to be held accountable. We're not going to do a catch and release no more. I brought in Reverend Tim Christopher early as my lieutenant governor.
I know Tim.
Okay. And Tim is Tim's from North Minneapolis. He's very connected down there, along with a few of my other teammates on my party here. On my campaign. And so we have a lot of connections in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Hennepin and Ramsey County. So with the connections with my Vietnamese people, the Laos people, the Cambodian, the Chinese, the Hmongs, the Hindu Indians, the Hispanics, the Ojibwan tribe. I mean, I have a lot of connections with all of them. That's part of my campaign to unite Minnesota, to bring it, of course, back to where it needs to be. We need to make it affordable again. We need to make it safe again and a destination. And to do that, we're going to have to work together. But to do that, we got to get the corruption out of there. We've got to stop the fraud. We've got to start holding people accountable. We're going to do no more catch and release. There's going to be a new camp, and I'll let Tim Christopher tell you about the camp he's going to be building for some of these juveniles that will not be released once they have committed a crime. So.
Now, how do you feel about Frey, Mayor Frey?
He's another part of the problem. I don't see him doing anything to solve the problems we have down there. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And the people that are part of the solutions keep getting, walled off. And it's hard to fix something when you have such a powerful force in place from that top seat at the governor's at the Capitol, the governor's seat, to enforce that wall. And then you have the Attorney General, who, of course,
the current
Attorney General, that basically is just as much of a criminal as anyone in prison right now.
Right.
And so how are we to fix this thing without replacing all of these key components.
Yeah.
You have Omar, you have Fry, you have Ellison, you have Moriarty, you have Walls. Well, right there, that's a handful of people right there that if we are to get rid of them, and we need to, and again, Minnesota, we need to come together and unite Minnesota and vote against these people, whatever it takes. We need to, we, as a fighter, I hate to say this, but we need to fight back and do it the right way, not parade down the streets and, create havoc, and I always say, how you're a Republican, right? You know how you're a Republican?
Okay, go ahead.
You're at work. Okay. So, or a conservative, because, we're the ones paying for all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so we have to stop allowing this to go on. We have to say this is enough. And we need to step up, support the people that represent you and your voice. Don't sit idle. You know what an idler is, right? Someone who sits idle. That's an idler.
Yeah.
You can't be an idler. We have to be active. It is hard, but nothing worth getting is easy.
Or impossible.
It's not impossible.
Yeah.
Look
at Trump.
me tell you.
Everybody said it was impossible.
Man.
And now look.
Right.
And there are people that wouldn't vote for him if he's on fire. And yet here they are.
Well, this is where the Gen Zs and millennials come into. I agree with this. They are our future. They're the future of not just Minnesota, but our country. They're the ones who bring that, that technology mindset that, even the gamers are fantastic for our future. And people don't think about that, but you have to be realistic about their vision on what we want to do. We need people that can monitor drones and monitor cameras and see things that we don't see, because their minds move different than I do. I mean, We're 60 years older. Well, I mean, I know you're 25, but we don't think like that. And the way that they think is exactly what we need to mold the future of Minnesota and the country. As a father, and with Libby and I, we have 8 kids total. Mm-hmm. And you want to better the next generation as a parent. That is the ideal situation. And that's what we need to start doing as people of office. We need to bring people in, young people in, and start molding them for the future, not just for the next 4 to 6 years, but the next 20 to 40 years, because, this woke way of life has really damaged us. And I'd like to sit in front of somebody who says that right now things are good. I want someone to sit in front of me and say, things are great here in Minnesota. I don't want to change. I really want to hear that person. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think that they're being honest with us. And I really don't think so.
But if that's the right which we fought for.
But again, I don't think they really know and understand is the problem. There's this company that the DFL hires. It's called Hire a Crowd.
Oh, okay.
And they bring them in from all over, compliments of George Soros, and they pay these people to come from all over the country in here in buses with professional signs, scripts, and join together with the minimal people that we have here in Minnesota, so it looks like a bigger crowd. It's all an illusion. And I can show you today. It's called Hire a Crowd. And I was down at the Capitol a few weeks ago defending the National Guard on their constitutional rights. And I was down there speaking for them. And I walk outside, and there's that wall of people out there in front of Klobuchar as she's barking out there, rah, 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 and there's so many people. I go, what is going on here? I knew there was going to be a protest down here, but there was a sea of people. And I just walked up to someone and said, hey, so what's going on? What's this all about? And this dude is like, oh, man, we just got here from South Carolina, man. Yep. Paying us $200 a day travel and food. And, here's the sign I got to hold up and scream these things on this script. And, wow, that's a pretty good gig. How do I get involved? Well, here, check this out. Here's the site. Go in there and
Crowds on demand.
Crowds on demand. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And I'm like, wow. And so they hire these crowds on demand. That's the one. And it's amazing how you can really kind of have this delusion that they really have this strength and this momentum, and it's not true.
I believe their entry is $20,000 to $50,000 to start. If it's under that, you got to call and specify. It goes up to $1 million plus. You can get it on the website. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
I'm full aware of what they're doing. The question is,
Why?
Where's this money going?
Well, where's it coming from? Well, I'll tell you where.
Well, we're paying for that.
That's right, the taxpayers, right? We're paying for our own enemies to campaign against us.
Isn't that something?
It's I never knew this before I got involved. And it's like you get kind of fired up, and as a former fighter, you kind of go, all right, now.
It kind of tweaks you, doesn't it?
Stay calm, because, one wrong hit to somebody,
Well,
and,
you're a professional, and they're expecting you would know your craft, and it's like anybody else. If you're a fighter, you don't kick them, you don't fight them.
No.
If you're a weapon specialist, you don't shoot them.
Rather than talk about it, I did something about it. And that's That's what I wanted to do, was to lead by example, and not just sit there and and murmur in the corner about, oh, this person, that person, or what have you. I said, I'm going to get into this fight, and I don't know nothing about it. I knew nothing.
Were you familiar with this geographical location? We had a business in our city, decided that they wanted to do a drag show. Were you familiar with that event?
I know I am not.
They wanted a local store to have a drag show, which was next to a children's dance studio. And the pages blew up about it. I mean, there are people, they're literally fighting on the page.
I think I am remembering this.
Okay, this was just like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So in the city ordinance, it says, hey, if you're going to do an adults venue, you can't do it, blah, 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 blah. But the city backed up a step and says, we're not going to interfere. I said, then you're not true to your statutes and ordinance.
Right.
The attorney says it's a fashion show. I said, fashion shows, which I was talking to him, and says, are not 18 or older. That's an adult venue. They specifically call it an adult venue during the day. Now, I don't care what the cross-dressers, it is none of my business. I don't care. But when you bring it to a mall and you decide that you have decided for you that this is okay in your city, and the city, who has clearly defined markers against it, didn't do anything about it, how do you think that feels as far as, okay, when this city, when you control the government in our city, in our state, what are you going to have in position, a mechanism, a push button to say, look, the city's not doing their job?
Well, this brings up the topic of our corrupt and failing justice system. That's a two-tiered system. You have, an associate employee of the state that works for Walls that destroys Teslas, and then another person that isn't connected like that in Brooklyn Center that destroys Teslas, and one gets convicted and one gets let off scot-free. And so this is our part of our problem with our two-tiered system. It's who you know, and unfortunately that's coming out in the news, and like this racial stuff that Moriarty's pushing right now. It's like, thank God the U.S. Justice Department stepping in, because this is really getting out of hand. And they've just pushed the envelope too far, and not abiding by these rules and these laws, and the whole trans in schools and trans. Again, they push this thing down our throat. Now, if this would have been
70s,
I mean, if this was in Vegas, that wouldn't have been a problem. I mean, but it's next to a kids.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. There are expectations when you go to Vegas of, okay, I know there's some strange stuff going on out there.
You're on the strip. You're an adult. You got your own thing.
Exactly.
And there's not a dance school next to you.
There's a dance school. Or how about you walk into your school and your kindergarten or first grade class and want to have
a book reading
with trans. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just not.
How do you not react as a MMA fighter and go in there and stop them?
Well, again, this is, there's the violent approach, which is what they try to get you with, and that's how they win. But getting in here and doing this, what I'm trying to do is get to the seat that, basically has a say-so in this. And I believe there's enough people in Minnesota that says, yeah, this is not right. We need a person that's going to stand for our rights, which is, I believe, 80% of Minnesota.
Yep.
And so I'm the guy who will do it. I'm not afraid. I do not need PAC money. You can't bribe me. You can't owe me. I will not owe one person when I get in office. I don't want any more money than the salary I'm going to be provided to do the job, and I'll do it better than anyone else. I'm just one of those guys who doesn't quit. Everything I've ever done, I've reached the the pinnacle of the height of everything I've accomplished or done. And so this is one of the things when I decided to dive into this, leaving my job in December of last year, I said, that's it. I'm diving into this.
Full throttle.
Full throttle. We need this more. We can't sustain this direction. We are going to flatline in Minnesota if we do not get somebody in there with a spine that is not afraid of the opposition. We have got to turn this place into another, again, a state that is a destination again. Like it's a beautiful state with a lot of great people. Mm-hmm. And I think people have had enough. And they need a representative that's not a politician, that is more conservative, moderate, that, listen, I'm sorry, but these things they got to go. I'm not going to play ball with people who want to have these types of idealisms. It's just not right. It's going to stop day one. You talk about the immigration, how it's hurting us, and we're taking away from our seniors and our healthcare. Day one, signing the papers, it stops. The money goes to our people. This is the people that work for it here in Minnesota are the ones who deserve it, not the ones who come here illegally.
Earns it.
Okay, day one.
Right.
Okay. And I've been on many shows already, and I said, you have until I get in office to apply or leave. If you have applied and you have been working, I will consider having you stay and be part of our community as long as you are a productive person in our society. I would love to help immigration here if they come here legally, but the ones that are here now, not all of them are bad. They just followed the wrong people, and it happens. But there are some criminals here that we have to get rid of, and we're going to be vigilant about that. Right now, they're hiding, and they're being allowed to hide from us. They're being helped by our officials to hide, and those officials will face charges.
Yes. Please make that happen.
Day one.
When I did Scott Jensen, he was on that thing, and
I like Scott.
We had a great conversation, a couple of them, and we always do this unofficial thing between us. I said, if you win, I'm your communications director for the state of Minnesota. Okay, so if you do win, please consider me as your guy who's going to say the right things for you.
Hey man, I like that idea. I have some great people in my staff, but nobody wants that position. I don't know if I get in front of people. I need someone that can talk, that's not afraid to use their voice. A lot of people like being behind the scenes. I have a really smart team, but they're not vocal like I am, like you are. Yeah. And I think that would be a great idea.
Well, it's unofficial, and if it ever came up and you win, just remember Old Hutcast. We are ready to serve.
Thanks, Tim. Minnesota, we have a tough situation. And we're going through tough times. But, tough people make good times. Weak people make bad times. And if we want to have Minnesota, great again, we need tough people that are going to get in there and get the job done. You can join my team at bradkohler.com. That's BradKohler.com. Email my website, join my team, be a part of this. I respond to everybody. My team's growing every day. You can donate there as well if you feel like you want to be part of the team and donate or what have you. I'd like to meet you at one of our meet and greets that we notify everybody at. If you're really passionate about this, if you want to lower your taxes, if you want more money in your pocket, if you want a safer street, more healthier environment for your kids to grow up and get educated in, I am your guy. There is no one else that will do the job I can do. There are other people out there running. They are politicians. And if you know the definition of insanity, that's that doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. I am the cure for that insanity. And thank you.
Thanks, Brad, for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking time. And for Hutcast, stand by. We're going to put a fork in this. Until next time. Be well. Brad, good luck in your election.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate your time.
No worries. Stand by. And that's a wrap for Hutcast. Hutcast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site. Again, for Hutcast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.